Hello, good evening, welcome. Bonjour. We're at Monaco, for the Monaco Grand Prix and for WAOF1 Tuesday night division. And we are about to hear from James for a quick chat before
Hello.
qualifying. It will be a quick chat because I'm a bit late starting the stream. Hello, James.
I've
Make sure
included
you're
my audio, I
muted.
think. Yes.
You have. Excellent. Good boy. Um, okay. Welcome. James, how's the season going for you so far?
Um, Up and down. Couple of incidents. Other than that, fairly consistent. And I'm up there. So that's where I want to be, man. Top three, I think. So, um,
Nice, yeah.
Steers and Gooner ahead of me. Constructors is a big one. Me and Ryan are locking in for that. So we're
Yeah.
on it. But
Fight with the Ferraris for that one at the moment.
I will say, the fight, yeah, tonight is, me and Oses, mate, are going to have a generational battle at the back. The practice has not gone well,
Well,
and
if
I'm not
you're
looking
actually
forward to
with
it.
Ozers at the back, if Sunday's anything to go by, you'll be about 3 laps behind.
I think he was six laps behind, I think, wasn't he? So
Oh, really?
no, three laps, I think.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's 3, yeah.
Six pit stops, I think.
So, just thinking about Monaco, if things do go well tonight, what's sort of, first of all, quality-wise, what sort of position would you be sort of targeting?
I'd be happy with a top five, mate, honestly.
Yeah, I mean your pace this year or other tracks is always
Is there?
been very
Yeah.
good. So it's just Monaco's
If
very
I could
good for you, I
somehow
guess.
pull it out, mate, that'll be lovely. Um,
Yeah,
I've done two quality sessions, and that's literally it. So,
fair
and
enough.
I was not having fun, but let's see how it goes. You never know.
Absolutely. And then for race, it's a
Hmm.
bit different at Monaco because it's an enforced two-stop
Yeah.
this year. So the first time they've done that, I don't know how it went in real life because I don't watch. I hardly watch F1 at all anymore, but I definitely don't watch Monaco.
I just don't want to get stuck.
So yeah, and that's the problem, isn't it? Because you got this idea of do you go long,
Yeah.
do you stop early to get out the traffic, but then of course
Yeah.
you could get stuck later on. So yeah,
It's an interesting one.
yeah. I mean, from Sunday, not Sunday, sorry, last Thursday I did comms as well, and the guys right at the front seem to be better going long on their first stints.
If they had more
And then
pace, yeah.
yeah. Um, but yeah, but then there were people stop on the first lap just to get a stop out of the way, and it worked for them. I mean, it worked great
Yeah.
to find the pass. So you know,
It's going to be a few different strats out there. Hopefully, it's dry the whole way through. I know we're on dynamic, but
yeah, well, it's just,
it'll be interesting to see.
yeah.
If it rains, I might actually be all right. Like, I would take a bit of rain, even it out a bit. But Steersy seems to be clear, so hopefully he puts in a wall. That is my aim tonight. See Steersy in a wall and wave
Seriously,
goodbye.
no. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm not going to keep it too long. Just in terms of the constructors' battle at the moment,
Yeah.
it's super close with Ferrari, but you do have the advantage at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Last
18
week,
points.
it looked for all the world like Ferrari were probably going to gain points on you, and I think something happened to Ozers or something, or to one of them in a way, and then you ended up gaining again. So,
Yeah.
do you do you think that's yours to lose now, or there's a long way to go yet?
Ryanair has improved so much. I
Yeah,
think if we can both just keep doing what we're doing and not get involved in silly incidents, Watson, then that'll be fine. I think we've got the pace to do it, and we've got some good tracks coming up as well. Kota next week. Looking forward to that. But see, damage limitation here tonight, really, for me and Ryan. He's pretty quick
yeah.
round here, but we'll see.
And
We'll see.
this is going to be I believe this is the only one of the three races where ghosting is off.
Yes.
So we've had it on in the other two. For some reason, you guys are getting it off. That's Wells' decision, so it's all his fault. So you can blame him if something goes wrong. I just hope that one of the top three don't crash around turn one, because then we've had it.
Would you like to know the weather?
No,
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 that's fine.
no. Let that be a
Okay.
surprise. Right,
I'll
I
let that be a
best let you
surprise.
go. Yeah, I best let you go, James. You get back to it.
Have fun. I look forward to hearing your impression of me.
Yeah, that's going to be coming up. So don't try not to listen to the stream in
Oh.
Q1 when you're on a lap, okay? Because
Yeah.
any other track, I would love to put you on this one. I really don't want you to crash because you're
No.
laughing or anything. So,
Fine. All right, mate.
oh,
Have fun.
all right. Yeah, good luck. See you
Bye.
later. Right, guys. So that was James. Nervous but excited, says Mr. Whale. Good evening, by the way, Mr. Whale. We've got an Aston on the way out. So Kev is going to be first out on track. Followed quickly. What is that? We'll find out in a minute. Is that an RB or is it a Red Bull? It is an RB. So that's Ryanair. I get so confused sometimes between the RBs and the Red Bulls. So, just a heads up that I am attempting to watch the Newcastle game at the same time as doing commentary. Which looks like it's all go at the moment. It looks quite fun. There's a Tottenham player rolling about on the floor. So, Kev is going to be first up. So, James mentioned there about me doing an impression of him. I did an impression of Well last week. I think I did one of him at something like Monza as well. And he's quite enjoyed it. So he said, look, do somebody else. So I've said I'll do James this week. So when James goes on a hot lap here in Q1, I'm going to pretend to be James as he's going around on the hot lap. So we'll see how that goes. I was going to practice the accent. Well, I can't do accents. I'm just going to try and be like him. Yeah, and as he drives around, I'm going to try and, reenact some of his mannerisms and stuff like that. But that does not mean that we won't be seeing the hilly hot lap, which we're going to do now. So down to third gear for turn 1, open up steering, take the power all the way up the hill on the throttle, overtake in use as well. Keep the car nice and to the right so you can really turn the car in to this left-hander. You've got to be a bit careful. You go a bit too close to the inside, the corner suddenly comes out on you. The right-hander after that, very difficult on traction out of it, and then you got the two heavy braking hairpins. This left-hander probably the only corner of the season that you will use first gear on. Use a bit of throttle to help your way around it, then cruise around the next right-hander in second, and the following one as well. Open up the steering through the tunnel. On Sunday you'd have seen us jumping over this chicane, but tonight they've got to take it. You brake just after the 100-metre board, I think it is, and just make sure you get the car turned in nicely on the second part so you can open up the steering again. Fifth through the left-hander, flat out through the first chicane, down to, I think, fourth usually for the second chicane there, and then down to second would be the usual gear for the final hairpin there. And then into the final corner, open up the steering. It's very difficult on traction again out the final corner, and that's a very decent, nice looking 112.6 from Kev. That's the sort of lap that might actually see him through Q1 this week, so well done on that lap, Kev. Ryanair 111.0 straight after. Here comes Robin to the line. Robin 114.7. Barry coming through the final sector. That Tottenham player's still down. Barry then through the final corner. And that was a 112.2 from Barry, so a decent lap from Barry. Steersy, where's James? He's coming through. Yeah, he's right. Okay, here we go. Right then. Right, Monaco. Don't piss me off, Monaco, mate. Come on, down to turn 1. Yeah, absolutely fucking nailed it. Come on then, up the hill. Here we go, mate. Fly it in there. Yeah, oh, that's a bit shit, mate. Right, get out of the way, mate. Don't you piss me off. Right. Fucking game shit. Hairpin into the second hairpin. I'm not doing a hot lap. Why am I doing that? Here we go. Right, come on, car, move. Come on, turn. I've got no front wing, man. Got no front end at all. Come on, get round. Power, right. Right, I'm backing out of this. That fucking shit, that, mate. Absolute shit, that. I ain't dirt. Right. Fucking piss me off. Right, that's enough of that. For starters, I don't like swearing on stream, but you can't do James without swearing, so... That's enough of that because he's back to his lap. Here comes Admiral. Over the line, 112.3 goes into P7. Other laps that we've missed, Chris, 111.7. Beastie, 111.8. It's a good start from Beastie. Gunnar, 111.7 goes into P4. Josh, 112.2. Good start from him as well. Chewbacca, 112.4. Who else we got? Ozos then. Sluddy. Ferrari. Second driver. He's probably the first driver at the start of the season, but he's let himself slack off a bit recently, so demoted to being the second driver. Oh, really got a lot of oversteer going into that second chicane there. And that's the back of McLaren, but it didn't really affect him too much. That's going to happen around Monaco, unfortunately. It's a 111.7 from Ozo as he goes into P3, despite that oversteery snap in sector 3. So, well, not on a lap. I think Avi will be next up. Just a heads up again, as I seem to be saying every commentary I do at the moment, I've still got this bloody cold that I've had for the last week and a half now. So again, I will try not to cough on stream where I can in you guys' ears, but I can't always avoid it. Try and mute myself, or whatever. So, Avi on the outlap, Watson on the outlap as well, but Avi is furthest round. Nobody that I can think of is on a hot lap at the moment, unless Josh is having a go. Yeah, I think he is actually, but he was 4 attempts down, so yeah, does pull into the pits. One of the problems, of course, that Monaco poses, as all the tracks, they do wear the softs out pretty quick. Not as quick here as other tracks, but a couple of runs and they're definitely cut. So, you know, those mistakes that you might make when you're doing time trial or something like that, you can't afford to make them in quali. And if you're doing them in Q1, even if you get through Q1, you're going to be limited for your tyre use in Q2. And that can sometimes lead to a slightly different grid than what we're used to at Monaco. So, sorry, let's go down to Abbey. It's coming through the tunnel, my apologies. Oh, didn't quite get the line right through the chicane, and that's definitely hurt his exit. As Gunnar's out! Gunnar is out! He's crashed! Can I get to Whale? Oh, well, careful! There's a Sauber in the way! He's touched the Sauber. I also didn't realise that that's where he was. That is Gunnar out of qualifying. He has crashed. That's a major loss in Q1. Avi, by the way, went 11.9, so he's up to P8 on that one. Here comes Watson. 112.7 on the mediums, so I hadn't thought to bring the tyres up. Avi's lap was on the mediums as well, by the way, so that's a better lap than it maybe first looks. D-Kit onto a lap now for Red Bull. nicely from D-Kit through sets of 3. What driver using first? Maybe first is the go-to gear around there. I just tend to use second, but... D-Kit then did go into P10, although somebody else has jumped up above him. I'm not sure who that was. Well, it's a Haas. So actually it was Watson. On the mediums, it's gone P4, 1:11.1. Very nice lap from Watson. So as usual, now in Q1, we'll start to concentrate on the guys that are either in the drop zone or not far above it. And here is Gregory, currently in P12. Just went P11 because we got a second crasher at the same chicane. So Avi is in the wall at the chicane. Avi is out. I was just coming down to James, but the D-Kit, but the cars disappeared before he arrived, so we didn't get to see that one. But massive moment as another car exits in Q1 on the same wall. That's Monaco for you. Balls everywhere. Chewbacca then on a lap come through the tunnel. Current PB 1:12.448. Everybody at least in the 12s, which is pretty impressive. Usually with Monaco you do find one or two drivers that just cannot get it right and are way off at the back, but not tonight. Everybody's put in decent lap times on the board. And that's Chewbacca back to the pits, wasn't happy in the end. Had already done multiple laps on those tyres, so right, all of the ones with only Chris out on track at the moment, so we'll switch to Chris. He comes then, DRS open to the line. What does Chris manage? Just a 10.8, so that puts him into P2. Good lap from Chris, that will see him through. Gregory had on an out lap there, he was just running out the way of Chris. Not sure if Chris was on a lap or not, so he was just making sure that he didn't impede him. Although Chris is not on a lap, so you needn't have worried. But never absolutely sure of that when you're out on track, so best to be sure. I'm hearing reports that Joe Willock has just scored for Newcastle, so I haven't seen it on my stream yet, but that's because my stream's always behind. He's done well there. There's Joe. Is he onside? That's the only question. So Gregory just coming up to the end of sector 1, just 3/4 of a tenth up at the moment. That would already gain in the 1 position ahead of D-Kit. Oh, he's easily onside. Yeah, just seeing a replay. So through the first chicane. Let's go down to third. So I'd say use 4th through that chicane. I don't know. Keep an eye on maybe as we watch some of the top drivers later in the qualifying, see what they do. Gregory then improves by 4.5 tenths, moves into P8 and will be safe. Oh, Misty, don't walk over the laptop, please. Barry on a lap, just checking where the other guys are at the moment. Chewbacca's letting people through, so he's not on a lap. Barry's backed out by the looks of things. Josh going as well, but I think that means Robin is... Oh no, he's just behind Josh, so let's go to Josh. All good through the chicane there. Very nicely taken. And into left-hander. 7 attempts up from Josh. Plus 1, 11.5. That would put Josh into P7 as it stands. So yeah, P7 from Josh, 1:11.4. Chewbacca just starts in a lap. Let's go to Barry, furthest round. It's coming through the tunnel then. Well, that goal was ruled out. That was never offside, not in a million years. How they ruled that out. Barry across line, doesn't improve. Got a McLaren, that's Josh on an in lap though. Let's go to Robin. No, not improving, 3.7 down. Earlier in the lap, just over a tenth up. Be a little confusing what he actually needs to beat here, because although Avi's on an 11.9, he doesn't need to beat that, he needs to beat the 1:12.2, which Barry has done. Yeah. Red Bull gets out of the way nicely for him. 8 attempts up. Doesn't actually need to do anything monumental here, just finished a lap. He's going to do that a little out of shape at the final corner, but it's not going to have too big an effect, and it's 11.7, moves into P11, Kev, good lap. Barry invalidated. So that is it for Q1. So it's going to be the top 13 through to Q2, so we'll only lose 3 in Q2. But look how tight it is. If you take Steersy, well, take Steersy and Chris out the equation at the top 2 there. 3 down to 13, covered by 9 tenths of a second. Thank you, Misty. She's gone straight over my laptop. Oh, I think she just said but the window as well. Silly Misty. So, unlucky then for the guys that have exited. So, we say unlucky then to Robin, Chewbacca, Barry, Avi and Gunnar, who all leave us at the end of Q1. Avi and Gunnar both crashing at the same chicane just after the tunnel. But all drivers could be pretty pleased with themselves. They've all done decent times there, in my opinion. You go through the grid. There's the information in terms of invalidated lap times, etc. DNFs, blah, blah, blah. So it's going to be a top 13 going through to Q2 on this occasion. Newcastle scored again. Hopefully this one's not rolled out. This time it's Malik Tial. have the lead that they deserved in a way. There's no way the Joe Willett goal was offside. I don't care what VAR said. So, first driver's leaving the garage then in Q2, and it's Ozer's first out. So what joys can Ozers bring us? Oh, scrapes along the wall there on his outlap. That's not concentrating. It's an absolute nightmare around here on Sunday. But a few days to put that right, a couple of days to put that right, and just going by his Q1 time and where he was and how comfortably he got through, I would say he has put some practice in. I really loathe that left-hander there on this. Whoa, what's just happened? Ozers has left the session, so it's popped him back into the pits. We've lost Ozers, who's just gone onto his lap. Oh. Sorry, didn't mean to invite you to party, Ozers, just inviting you to the game. Right, here, let's go back into James. No, he's not on a lap. Chris then, in the McLaren. He'll do for us first time out. That could be a real problem for Ozers, that disconnect, because last time I disconnected in qualifying, it put 15% tyre wear on my next unused set of tyres. Now, it is a bit different because he was out on track when it's happened to him. I was in the garage. So Chris out the final corner then. Crossed the line, 1:11.2. Decent run, probably on worn tyres. Ryanair's gone 1:10.9. Good start to Q2 for him. Gregory 1:11.9. Josh 1:18.9. James 26.7. Steersy invalidated, so off he goes again. Get a first look at Steersy here for this evening. Interestingly, switching between overtake and none on ERS rather than medium. It's a bit of a touch on the wall there, but not bad. So that's interesting, seeing Steersy switching between overtake and none rather than using any medium here at Monaco. 109.5, so that looks like that's a way to go. Obviously the none gives you a bit better traction out of corners. Some more laps to tell you about. So well 1:11.2, Admiral 11.4, Beastie 11.9, James has now done 11.9 as well. Josh 12.4, Kate Deakit's on an outlap. I mean, Joe Willock's goal has been ruled out because the very top of his head was leaning forward and was in an offside position. Although actually it looks like he's completely level with the Tottenham player's shoulder. Oh my God, what is football come to? It's a perfectly good goal. So DK out the final corner onto a lap then. So here we go. Do the lap with him. Third gear, turn 1. Gets a bit of a clip on the wall out of the first corner. Overtake all the way up the straight now. Around this awkward left-hander. No traction on the exit of that. You move into the right-hander. No traction on the exit of there. Through this awkward middle sector. Seems to navigate it very well though. Through the tunnel. The right-hander almost non-existent these days. Really used to be in the old F1 cars, but the amount of downforce these cars create, even when they're running at the as you would here, you'll also be running very high, well, maximum wings, but you'd be running the car pretty much as low as you can get away with. And yet the car is still creating an incredible amount of downforce. 111.5 for D-Kit. Put him into P6. Here's Watson. Not using any overtake along the straight through the tunnel, so I don't think he's on a proper lap here. Guessing he made a mistake in the first sector somewhere, which has meant he's just backed out of it. Here he comes though. We'll stick with him because he's going on to one now. And that lap, using absolutely no ERS from when we joined him, put him into P10 on a 12.4. Nice lap so far from Watson. Been pretty clean, and that's half the battle around Monaco. Set it up then into the final corner. Got on the power pretty well out the final corner. Did have a little moment, but nothing really to write home about. And that's a 10.6 from Watson. Decent. It's looking at the moment like nobody's really going to be able to battle Steersy for the pole position tonight. There's a big difference between quali and a race though, especially around here. Whale has backed out his, but he's already done an 11.1. Ozer's done an 11.2 since getting back into the lobby, so the Ferrari's looking good at the moment. James is out there. Oh, he's struggled out the final corner with the traction, but it's a 10.7, which moves him into P3 anyway. Clearly will have more time in that when he gets the final corner right. So it's just into the pits, it is indeed. As Chris crosses the line and goes P3. 110.6. Chris P3 on a 110.699. James P4 on a 110.799. Always nice, making little patterns together. Pretty. Here comes Gregory then out the final corner starts his next lap with his attempts here to get himself into the top 10. So as we said, we're only looking at losing the three drivers here. I don't know why I've been invited to a party, but there we go. Oh, goodness me. That was a touch off-putting. I'll work out who that was. Was that D-Kit maybe? Yeah, it was D-Kit. Doing his best to be out of Gregory's way there, but that was a bit awkward. But I guess not a lot else he can do. He needs to get out of the way. He tried to do it as safely as he could. Chris retires from the session, that is in the pits. Susie's done the same. I think Watson's perfectly fine to do the same as well. James is as well, in all fairness. Gregory then out the final corner, heads to the line. 1:11.2, that moves him into P7. And the man he had to navigate his way round on that lap, D-Kit, is the man he's pushed into the trouble or danger zone. Runs wide there, D-Kit in the right-hander before going into the tunnel. Just would have affected his exit speed a little bit, and oh wow, I'm sure he clipped the inside wall there, but somehow got away with it. Certainly clips the outside wall there, and over second chicane. Certainly attacking the lap, given his all. Does struggle a bit out the final corner. What time was it? It's a 1:11. Oh, so no, sorry, no, 1:12.022. Did not improve. Josh not improving. Here comes Josh across the line. Just looking. Let's just go to Admiral. He's a bit further around. Down to the end of sector 1. Just down by half a tenth almost. Down to first gear to get to rotation. So you can just touch the throttle a little bit, helps you to rotate the car around that hairpin. Overtake through the tunnel then. Nicely through the chicane. It's fun, the better you go through that chicane, the easier it is getting on the throttle out of it. So when you've got to start correcting the steering a little bit when you're exiting a corner, that's when it's harder to get the throttle down, because you're not doing it in a straight line. But it's a 1:11.2 from Admiral, does improve by quarter of a second, moves ahead of Ozers into P8. Ozers is on a lap. Who was the other driver on a lap? Josh, he's heading to the line, he's improving. 110.8 from Josh, goes P5. What a lap, Josh. That's looking like a Q3 appearance for Josh this week. Steve Cabby's further around, Beastie's furthest round. Going through the tunnels, over half a tenth up through sector 1. Good through the chicane. Wow, 8.5 tenths up. Sector 2 and is good through the 2 chicanes in sector 3. As Ozers retires out. Beastie could be about to spoil his day because Beastie heads for the line and it's a 10.9. He moves into P7. Ozers is out. Admiral is in trouble. Gregory can't dispossess Admiral, but Kev potentially can. He's 4 attempts up. Oh, catches the wall on the inside. And I think that's gonna... It's not gonna stop him improving his time, but I don't think he's gonna be able to gain any places here, Kev. But P13... Wow! Okay, 8.5 tenth improvement. He only just missed out on D-Kit. And that little touch on the wall we saw was probably the reason why. It's, okay. So, that is it for Q2. So, Steersy, Watson, Chris James, Josh Ryanair, Beastie, Whale, Gregory and Admiral progress to the pole position shootout. Unlucky to Ozers, D-Kit and Kev, who drop out at the end of Q2. Performance of the day, without even the slightest shadow of a doubt, you've got to say, is Josh. Through in P5. A man who, so far this season, hasn't really been able to get through Q1, so to be through to Q3 here at Monaco, you must love this track. Not just through to Q3, but he's quarter of a second off of P2 at that stage. We'll see how it goes. So, oh, Josh, there he is in the chat. Oh my God, I was not expecting that. Get on, man. What a lap. Superb lap. See if you can keep it going. It's so tight up there that if you get a really good lap on the board here in Q3, you could find yourself in the top 5. What I'm just going to do is I'm just going to renew my Xbox party. There you go. Just in case Xbox decided to chuck me out of the party, because I'll see I'm on my own and it chucks you out after an hour. And I don't want, as people are on their like final laps of the session, to be suddenly appearing in game chat and putting everybody off. So I know a chunk of the drivers will be in their own chat, so it probably wouldn't affect them, but anybody who's not, potentially I can just suddenly start being in their ears, which they obviously don't want. So first add-on track then is Steersy for Q3. So, Steersy, sorry, let's go on board. Well, he's backed out. Obviously made a mistake there, so he's backed out of that one. Who's that? It's just gone past. That is Ryanair, who is on the lap, so we'll stick with him. Nice. Very nice. Maybe just caught a tiny bit of the sausage curve, which just slowed the car down a little bit in the second chicane, but I mean, super critical there. Here he comes, 10.7 then from Ryan. Very decent first lap time. So Merrick on the way. Here comes Gregory. 112.0. Josh 119.2. Here comes James. 110.6 from James. You'll be happy with that one on his first run. Here comes Chris. 111.2. Next up is Watson. 110.9. Here comes Admiral. 110.7. Beastie's next up. 111.4. Whale is next up after that. Here he comes. What's he got to it? 10.8 goes into P4. Next up is Steersy then. This one's a little early for the left-hander after the chicane, but I don't think it matters too much for Steersy. He's just got to get a clean lap on the board from what we've seen. Goodness me, he was close to catching that inside wall. Might have scraped it a little bit, but that's a 109.3 from Steersy. So Carsey last Thursday into the 108s, but other than him, nobody else managed that. So Steersy, maybe now he's got a time on the board which is probably good enough for pole position. Maybe we'll see him really attack the track on his final run. And Nat said that he doesn't need to, and he doesn't want to DNF and end up 10th. So we'll have to see how he goes. Josh is heading back into the pits there, and we've got a few coming back out now then. Quite early in the final session here to come back out, so it is one of the few tracks of the season, because it's such a short lap, it is one of the few tracks of the season where we can fit 3 laps in around here, 3 hot laps. As long as you don't dawdle about in the garage, you can do it absolutely fine. Other people might have enough trouble not hitting the wall on 2 laps, so don't really want to do a third one. But if you've got the tyres to do it, why not? With Gregory here, because he will be first onto a hot lap. His teammate Admiral is the car behind him. And I'll tell you what, we have seen Gregory do a couple of laps, so let's change to Admiral and get a full lap of him. Through turn 1. I say that all the drivers racing tonight that also race the Sundays are doing very well to remember not to cut the corners. If you saw the Sunday race, it was a wild card and they turned off track limits for that race, which was very interesting, but I thought we might see 1 or 2 accidentally cut turn 1 or go straight across the chicane without thinking tonight, but so far no. Nice through the left-hander. Just clip the wall, shouldn't let that bother him too much. I think it has just put him off a bit, in all fairness. As Gregory moves into P6 then, 110.8. We've got a McLaren coming out the final corner, that's Chris, but he's not improving, but he is going on to a lap, so let's see that. Three and a half attempts down in sector 1. I'd say that's lap over. Still going. He's not turned his energy off yet, so let's look at the clock here. I'm fully convinced that Chris can get back to the pits in and out again in time. Well, I'll say this, it's going to be very close. Unless he's no intention of pitting. We'll see. Yeah, back to the pits. So 2:13 on the clock as he enters into the pits. They are first in the garage. Maybe that allayed them, I don't know. But I think he might. He's probably going to be just alright. But it is tight. Josh not on a lap there, or not improving in a way. James not on a lap. Well, not on a lap. Is anybody on a lap? There's a McLaren crossing the line, that's Josh. Navigated the middle sector very well. Or a slow part in the middle sector. Still got the chicane to go. Into the left-hander and shows an improvement of 1 second. Here he comes then. How much more has he gained? Because he's going to nip ahead of his teammate, but improves up to P5. Josh. Aston crossing the line now. That was Steersy going on to a lap. James improving, coming out the final corner. He's a couple of attempts up. Has he gained any more? Does indeed. 3.5 attempts. A 10.2 from James. Teammate crosses the line, goes 10.5 and goes into P3. Can I get to anybody else? Watson across line 10.2 goes P2. I think Admiral crossed line just before and went P5 on the 10.7. Whale, oh, he invalidates. Was improving a little bit. Oh, Whale, careful. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Beastie heading for the line. What's Beastie done? 110.6. Smashed into a McLaren who for some reason is exiting the pit. That's 110.6 from Beastie. He's in P5. What a lap from Beastie. Josh still out there, but he's on a in lap, as are James and Ryan. So we're just waiting really for these guys to finish. I'm just looking if any of the drivers can hear it. Nobody is on a hot lap, guys. The cars you're letting past are actually AI. Nobody's on a hot lap. You're safe to just carry on and finish off. So it's well done to Steersy, pole position 109.114. Watson P2 on a 110.2. James in 3, also on a 10.2. Ryan in 4. We'll do the full grid rundown on the formation lap as always and go through the tyres and try and work out what strategies people might be on. Don't forget Monaco is an enforced 2-stop as in real life now. They must stop twice during this race. I don't know what the weather is. James almost told me, but he just about held back. So let's see when we rejoin in about 5 minutes, guys. I'll be back with you, ready for the formation lap, so I'll see you then. Okay, guys, looks like we're restarting apparently. Right, okay, guys, yeah, so apparently there's some sort of restart. I don't know what's happened. Okay, guys, so as I said, we're just going to be a bit longer, I'm afraid, so just bear with us, and we'll be back with you. Right. Okay. I think we're nearly ready. Just watching the Newcastle game while I had a chance. Sorry. Tottenham with equaliser. Completely missed that, so I didn't know it was 1-1. But Newcastle just retaken the lead with Jacob Ramsey's first goal for the club. Yay! Sorry about that. Right, I'm just going to check Discord because we all seem to be sat around at the moment. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, as well as just said in the chat, guys, any drivers listening, don't forget your setups. I strongly suggest that once it loads in, you put it on, and if you've got a bit of time left, then go off and do something if you want to. But do your setups first. So the actual start time, guys, is 10 past. To give the guys a chance to do their setups, etc. I guess the irony being that last race I called a restart and nobody saw it. And tonight they've called a restart and I didn't see it. Oh, I'm hot. Get the fan on. Right, guys, the picture's changed, so I hope. Going on to a formation lap. So, as promised before the restart, we'll do the rundown, a grid rundown, and then go through the tyres. So, Steersy starts on pole with Watson alongside in P2. James and Ryan, the two RBs, in 3 and 4. Beastie starts in 5, superb qualifying from him. Admiral starts 6. Josh in 7 with Well alongside in 8. Gregory in 9 with Chris in 10. Ozer starts P11 with D-Kit alongside in 12. Kev starts 13 with Gunnar in 14. Avi in 15. Barry 16. Chewbacca and Robin on tonight's last row of the grid, which is the 9th row in 17th and 18th. Remember back that Gunnar and Avi both crashed in Q1 and are starting 14 and 15 due to that. But yeah, incredible qualifying, by the way, from Beastie and Josh. 5th and 7th, superb from those two. The front two then, Steersy and Watson both starting on the soft tyre, interestingly. Then 3rd down to 9th starting on the mediums. Chris in P10 is starting on the softs, while Oza starts in the mediums in 11. Hards for D-Kit at the start, the only driver on hards. Kev starts on the mediums, then Gunnar and Avi both on the softs. Barry starts on the mediums with Chewbacca and Robin also on the mediums as well. As we said, it is an enforced 2-stop around here. So they all have to stop twice. I don't think we'll see any free stops unless it's due to broken wings. But ghosting is off, so there could be some damage caused. A couple of drivers DSQ in there. Josh, the highest one, in P7. 4, 5 lights are on. Quite a long pause, and off they go, and away we go. Steersy seems to get off the line well. Watson seems to do pretty well as well. As we head down into turn 1, do they all manage to get through unscathed? There's a free wide there for a moment. And there is a yellow flag out, and there is somebody round. It's the Williams, the Chewbacca that's round. Barry called up as well. There is a wing left on the track. It's Admiral and Chris side by side down to the first hairpin. A little bit of wheel to wheel. Both just about managed to make their break in before touching the car in front. And in the end, it looks like Chris has just about come off on top there. Ozer side by side with D-Kit into the tunnel. Looks like Ozer's going to power his way in front. D-Kit doesn't get on the brakes early enough and forces Ozers over the chicane, who gets a 10-second penalty. Now, the problem there is he's going to have to serve that during the race. He will be able to get it removed off of his race time at the end, as long as there are no safety cars. In a strange sort of way, that could be a little bit of a blessing for Ozers. If there's no safety cars involved in this race, Ozers potentially could pit with the 10-second penalty, get a massive amount of clean air to drive into, knowing full well that he's going to get 10 seconds removed at the end as well. So Avid had to come into the pits as well. So actually it looks like Avi's the only one into the pits. I'm sure one of these two must have had damage. Well, Chewbacca's missing an end plate. And no, Barry's wings fully okay. So here we go then, but Steersy's disappeared at the front, as you'd half expect, in all fairness, going by his advantage that he had in qualifying. James on the back of Watson. Watson obviously started on those soft tyres, so you can expect Steersy and Watson to be pitting pretty early. Watson a lot earlier than Steersy, you'd imagine. Is there any way for James to find a way past? As we know, it's so difficult around here. Unless the driver in front of you makes a mistake like that, because Watson certainly made a mistake there, and James gets past him. Chance maybe for the lead RB to maybe create a gap to the field behind him. Already pulling a little bit away. It is just over a second, so he has broken the DRS. Obviously, DRS here at Monaco, not such a vital thing, as it's only on the pit straight, which is, in terms of straights, is reasonably small. Hard to know exactly where to look at the moment, because everybody is so close. Yeah, James is pulling away from Watson. And, well, Watson's in, so it's an early stop from Watson and Steersy. So they've both only done 3 laps on the softs before pitting. Now, for Watson, I think this can work out well. But Steersy, I'm not convinced by. I mean, he's going to have to... I mean, he's got the pace, boys. He's got the pace. But the problem is that he's got to somehow navigate his way through the field. Gone onto the hard tire. He's going to be going deep. These medium runners that started the race on mediums, they're going to be going at least sort of 10, 12 laps, something like that, before they consider a pit stop. So for me, that potentially would be a terrible strategy call from Steersy. The only thing I can think is that he's opted to go for the softs in order to get a good start off the line and protect the lead. Especially if he saw Watson was on the softs. You can see him, he's already within the 1 second of Barry. Oh, Barry gets out of shape! Oh, that's a heart-stopping moment there for Steersy as he sees the car ahead of him get completely out of shape and lose his wing. That'll be into the pits then for Barry at the end of that lap, and so is Chris and Gunnar. Gunnar, another driver that started on the softs. In terms of tyres here, guys, at Monaco, the hards are the king tyre here. They are. It's just to do with longevity. They go so much further and they hold their pace so much longer than the mediums. Here at this street track, trying to pick out potential battles for us guys. Due to the pit stops, look, Beastie at the P3, Josh running P4. Admiral into the pits. He's pitting out of the 4A. Steersy with DRS then on Chewbacca. Gets alongside on the outside. I think he's going to have this done before they, just about before they reach the braking for the corner. So Steersy does get past Chewbacca. So that's one out the way. Now the next driver up is his teammate. So you would think that Kev will allow him through. The earliest safe opportunity, which will probably be the tunnel. Or just out of the tunnel, leading up to the chicane. Just moves to the inside. Well, he's just going to stay off the power a little bit coming out. And Steersy, as you saw there, just wobbled his car. And that's just a way of saying thank you. And the next one's a bit more difficult for Steersy because the next one up is the Red Bull with D-Kit. Now, D-Kit's on the hard tyre. So D-Kit started the race on the hard. He is missing his left end plate. So he's hit the wall at some stage. So he does have some damage as Whale enters the pits. So obviously the damage will play into Steersy's advantage, but the fact that they are both on the hard tyre and only a 3 lap difference between them could make this very, very tricky for Steersy. It's hard not to stay watching Steersy at the moment as he has to come through the field. Bound to be where we get the majority of our action at the moment. There are other battles going on. You've got several drivers within the 1 second of the driver ahead, but nobody's right up the gearbox of the car ahead at the moment. Yeah, Steersy has to think twice about that. He's never alongside. Oh, mistake from D-Kit, hits the wall. Steersy hits him, but I think Steersy's been a bit lucky. I don't think he got any damage. Just looking down, just try making sure the right end plate, or left end plate. No, he has, he's lost his left end plate. And at least, unless he'd lost that himself somewhere else. I can only assume that was from that contact there. Not a lot Steersy could do to avoid it, in all fairness. It happens directly ahead of him. That's the other problem of following the right up the car in front of you here at Monaco. If they make a mistake, there's every chance that you get called up as well. The problem here for Steersy is that D-Kit is dropping time, so the car's ahead of him. We know full well if Steersy clears him, he'll start catching the guys ahead. At the moment, very difficult to see how. Here's Ryanair is into the pits from P2. Out the final corner, D-Kit just makes a little mistake out the final corner, which allows Steersy to get alongside, going into turn 1, and through he goes. Back up now to P5, and he'll be after Gregory, who's 7 seconds up the road. I say he does have that damage. As Watson now attacks D-Kit. You saw how Steersy was affected from the traffic, from the pit stop, because Watson, well, technically he was right up behind him before Steersy got past D-Kit. Admiral gets past Chewbacca. Oh, Chewbacca. That was tight. That was close. Oh, to get that stopped in the end. Josh into the pits. From P3. Down at the track map. I don't know where he's going to come out here. Going to be at the back of that whole group. That's what the yeah, P13 for Josh. So, in a sort of opposite way from what we saw in the Thursday race I streamed here last week. It now seems as Gunnar gets past Robin, that those that pitted early, the ones that pitted very early are struggling a bit. Ones that pitted a bit early for the medium runners seem to have gained through this first group of pit stops. James exiting. I think he's going to come out ahead of the group. well, D-Kit. It's going to be close on exit between these two. Yeah, James does indeed get out ahead of D-Kit. I just wonder, I think D-Kit might have gone deep into turn 1 there. Maybe put off a little by James exiting. But, James in a lovely position now, onto the hard tyres, and he's only 2.5 behind Watson, with a 7-lap tyre advantage over Watson and Steersy at this point of the race. So, I don't get to say too often is that Beastie leads the race. But not anymore, because he's into the pits. But Beastie has led the Monaco Grand Prix here in WAOF1. I love that. So, after it's all sort of folding out then, Steersy now has the lead of the race once again. Watson P2, James in P3, but catching Watson at a rate of knots at the moment. D-Kit in 4, Avi all of a sudden up to 5th, look. So his early stop has worked wonders for him. He's under the cosh a bit. He's got Chris, Admiral, Whale, Ryanair, Beastie having come out of the pits in P10. All right on the back of him. Wouldn't have been Beastie's dream pit stop, would it? To be honest. And he'd be happy to be pitting and coming out in P10, but not behind a group like this. So it's all behind the Red Bull train from P4 down. I was just getting past Robin there. It looks like that was into turn 1. Kev from having freshly made a pit stop. P17 at the moment. But here is our latest battle then. So James called onto the back of Watson very quickly. But as we know here at Monaco, catching is one thing, overtaking is quite another. And this, in terms of the race for James, is a real problem. Look how he actually catches the back of Watson there, but there's just nowhere to go. So he's just got to slow down. But this is a massive problem for James, because, okay, these two are looking pretty nailed on for P2 and P3. Just depends which one gets which position. But for that battle later in the race, James at this point really needs past Watson, because he's got a massive tyre advantage at this moment in time and can go a lot faster than Watson. So here he comes. Oh, he looks to go to the outside. Watson closes it off. Was it a bit of a late move from Watson? I'm not sure. now. Just Newcastle match is just finishing, so just closing it all down. There we go. Right, this time, is there anything James can do? Oh, we got a yellow flag. Absolutely no idea what that was. It was around where Kev was on track, but I'm not convinced it was him. Can't see any signs of damage to his car, so let's get back to our battle. And whatever it was seemed to clear very, very quickly, so no real issue. This is what I mean by DRS not really mattering around here. Not so much in a way, not like it does at other tracks. Pit stops occurring, D-Kit in, Chris in. Chris needing a new front wing. Chris will be well pleased to see that he's going to exit right behind the Red Bull. Chris on hard tires. D-Kit on mediums, which is going to mean he's going to need to pit again. On the run down to the chicane again, and once again, James just not able to get alongside the Haas at all. Oh, he's making a move here. Goodness me, that was brave. Chose to surprise Watson. Maybe felt Watson had a little bit of an awkward exit out of the chicane. And James takes advantage. And is into P2 then. Well, now running in P4. Avi in 5. Superb race so far from Avi. Remember, it's him and Gunnar. Started way down the order, having crashed in Q1. And he's chasing after the Ferrari at the moment. Although it's a 5-lap tyre advantage for Whale. Kev getting past Robin in the lead up to turn 1. Which means Admiral now behind Robin. Just want to go to pit stops here. So yeah, Admiral's made 2. Chris has made 2. As Admiral goes up the inside of Robin at the first of the 2 hairpins. Nice move. Didn't notice any contact. Robin, in all fairness, Robin doesn't look to battle too much. I think Robin is happy to sort of concede that pace-wise it's just not there. Now remember, Ozer's currently in P9. Remember back, he's got a 10-second penalty removal, potentially. Gunnar might as well, he's got 10 seconds, so whether his is removable or not, I don't know. Avi into the pits from P5. You see a whole clump of cars is going to go through on the track map. So he exits in P13. Beastie also pitted. I went to the hard tyres. And these guys are asking the hard tyres to do a lot of laps. They're obviously hoping to undercut their way into advanced positions and then defend those positions later on in the race. Look, since James got past Watson, he's 5 seconds up the road. A 7-lap tyre advantage over Steersy. You'd imagine that now Steersy on the hards will just leave this pit stop until he pretty much needs to pit. No real reason for him to pit, so he can run those tyres right up to sort of 70% or what have you. As Gunnar looks like he gives 2 places back there. You assume he ran over the chicane or something. Oh, Barry's round. Barry's facing the wrong way. Oh, goodness me. Ghosting's not on. He does take a bit of a whack. He's lost half his front wing. So that'll be back to the pits for Barry. As Gunnar heads into the pits. And he's serving that 10 seconds, of course. Yeah, as I said, don't forget, Ozers has got a 10-second... Potentially a 10-second penalty removal. I see absolutely no reason at all that he wouldn't get it removed. If you remember back to when he got it, he took a whack off of, I believe it was Avi at the time. Sorry if I've got that wrong, Avi. Well, I think it was you. And was pushed over the chicane, so it's a blatant removal. The moment that would move him up to P5 ahead of Ryanair. Who's the driver at the front of this group? The next driver ahead of Ryanair, of course, is Whale, so that's Ozer's teammate. As there was a yellow flag there that looked to be off of Salbert. So I think that was Barry. But he did go in and get a new wing, and he seems to still have that new wing, so I don't think that was anything major. Ryanair and Robin into the pits. Ryanair. Is this going to be close with Beastie? No, Beastie well past before Ryanair gets out the pits, so Beastie up to P11. Admiral would be very appreciative if this group of 3 drivers ahead of him pit out the way before he catches them. That would be just nice for the seaman. Into the pits is Watson. Did a lot of laps on those mediums. 16 laps completed on the medium tyre, and that's like you're doing a one-stop. It's definitely not doing that because this is his second stop. And onto the hard tyres to take him to the end of the race. And Ozer's in as well. That was a battle as we were going past. That's Avi going past Kev for P7. So Watson exits, you've got to say, quite nicely in P9. His only problem here, he's 2 seconds back from Kev, who's on the hards, and you wouldn't expect Kev to be pitting any time in the next few laps. So that could pose a problem for Watson. The second stint has been a very, very good stint for James. Running comfortably in P2 now, and is catching Steersy. He's actually taken about 2.5 seconds out of Steersy since he got past Watson earlier on. As I say, I've got a feeling Steersy is just leaving his pit stop until he gets to the point where he has to pit. So, Whale in, Avi goes through, Kev will go through, and so will Watson. I don't think Beastie will though. Yeah, there's Well. Exits ahead of Beastie, so in P9. His teammate didn't have such luck with the pit stops as Chris is trying to get past Chewbacca for P12. Chewbacca holds him off there. Chris attacking down to the hairpin. Oh, he locks up. Goes a bit sideways, but still gets the move done. Now Ozers is sniffing all over the back of Chewbacca, almost oversteers into the wall there, Ozers, but keeps it out. Now he needs to find a way past Chewbacca because he's got that little bonus in his pocket that we've already spoken about with a 10-second penalty removal. So the last thing he wants is to get stuck here. So, well, exiting ahead of Beastie quite comfortably. Beastie is within that 1 second, and that's pulling him onto the back of Watson. Of course, Wells caught the back of Watson and Kev here. So this is what I said the problem for Watson might be, is when he catches the back of Kev. Kev definitely expecting in again, but not really expecting him in. Well, back then I said for at least for a few laps. I still think it's a few laps before he pits. Got to bear in mind he's going to go to the mediums. You don't want to go too long on the mediums. So finally, our race leader is in. James got the gap down to 2.6. So you've got to say that James is in this race, but Steersy's undercut here, you'd think is going to be all telling. Steersy got a new wing there, so. Well, James, the race is on. If James pits here, so that new wing will have cost Steersy about another 5 seconds. So, if James is savvy here and pits, then the race is on for P1. He's not particularly going to want to pit off the Haas just yet, but I think it's the move. He's got to do it. To have any chance of beating Steersy here today, he's got to do this. This is a vital moment in the race. James won't necessarily know that Steersy's taking a new wing, but he probably have some idea because of the distance, the gap between him and Steersy now. So in comes James. He is reacting to it. Steersy come through the final sector, across the sector 2 split, and across the second chicane now, into the final corner. James is already moving. James is exiting. It's going to be tight. There's James. Here's Steersy. And James has the lead. Oh, but he got a penalty. Oh, he got a speeding in the pit lane penalty. James. Oh, regardless, he still loves to win this on track. So, again, it's all starting to fold out a little bit again. Admiral in P3, he's got Avi behind him with 4-lap fresher tyres. Watson's in 5 now, but again, has another 3-lap fresher tyres than Abbey. So he's gotten past Kev, but Whale, no such luck so far. And we are approaching the point where Kev should stop. This should be an opportunity. Kev's caught the wall on the inside of the corner before the tunnel. Whale, nice little sneaky move to the right, then moves back to the left. And across he goes. Was Kev left enough room there? I'm not sure. We're on board with Wales, so we didn't really get to see. So now Beastie has the issue, but I think Kev might disappear into the pits, and indeed he does. He's done his job holding people up very nicely. He's got to concentrate on his own race, so into the pits he comes. Well, now the question becomes really, does Steersy really care about doing this on track? I suspect he does. I suspect he'd like to do it on track. Just as much as James would love to hold him off and take the win on track before the penalty, but I wouldn't feel that losing P2's really an issue for James, because Admiral's 9.6 back off of Steersy, so he's basically 10.1, 10.2 off of James now, and his tyres obviously 11 laps more worn, so James will pull away comfortably from Admiral, so that's not really an issue. If that was Watson there, then it might be a bit of an issue, but we got a Sauber round. It's Barry or Gunnar. It's Barry. Oh dear! He's turned in too early for the pits. And that's going to bring out the safety car. Oh, Barry. If there's anybody out there watching thinking that looked a bit sus, I don't think it was. I think he just turned in early and hit the wall on the inside of the pit entry and has bounced across into the other wall. So I can understand why people might think it looked a bit sus, but I honestly don't think it was. But that has brought out a full safety car. Now, James and Steersy don't need to pit, although you would assume that James will to get rid of the 10 seconds. I mean, he's got to. He doesn't need to think about this. He's got to pit. But what tyres does he have left? That's the issue for James. He's got to pit, but he ain't got any tyres left, presumably. So what does he do? Does he make one stop to get rid of the 10 seconds and then pit again? To get back to the hards? So Steersy carries on through. Admiral goes through. That's answers on a postcard. Again, the problem is, because it's an enforced 2-stop, a lot of these they're not going to have any tyres left. So, you know, in a way, there's an advantage here to be gained from those. As I think I've just realised I'm in the game chat. Oh dear. Apologies for that. I don't know when that happened. There's an advantage here for those guys that got knocked out earlier in qualifying, because they'll all have fresh sets of softs, etc. to go to. Okay, soft's not ideal, but it's better than having 10-lap-old mediums or hards. Or maybe those guys that pitted very early in the race could go back to the tyres they started on. I don't know. All sorts of scenarios here. It's a disaster safety car for James, in all honesty. It's, I mean, he's come out P4. It says he's on fresh mediums, but I don't think that can be the case. He started the race on medium and has used 2 sets of hards, so he can't possibly have fresh mediums. Oh, excuse me, the doorbell's just gone. Right, okay, sorry about that. Doorbell went as an Amazon driver. Not delivering anything, apparently he left something outside in the garden earlier on and forgot about it, and it's still there. So we wanted to say thank you, but we didn't even know it was there. So there we go. Nice story. Sorry, I'm just taking the opportunity to look at James's tyres. They do not look fresh whatsoever. So, well, this could be an interesting end to this race. Absolutely no idea who's on what tyres, or what, you know, whose tyres are actually fresh and whose aren't. Just look at the stops, and we can just confirm, just for the admins and the stewards, that every driver has made a minimum of 2 stops, so that scenario is completed. Although if they didn't, the game would disqualify them at the end anyway. But I can confirm that every driver has done that. And off we go. Safety car's back in. Steer as he goes. Admiral follows him pretty well, in all fairness. Just get a clip on the walls. He comes out turn 1 and then has a little moment. Avi moves alongside. Oh, this is all so tight. Admiral somehow holds him off. Then James gets alongside Avi. And James goes around the outside. What a restart. Now Avi wants to go back through on the inside of the hairpin. There's all sorts of banging going on. It's bound to happen around here at Monaco. But although there's bits of banging going on, in all fairness, it's only little sort of side-on-side bangs. It's not as if there's anything massive going on. But we're still side by side. James seems to have gotten through. James has gotten through. There is a yellow flag. I don't know who for, but there is a yellow flag at the chicane. It was all a bit manic, but somehow James has come through in P2. Admiral held off to Abbey for P3. It's not all done yet, and Watson looks like he might be on the attack against Whale here. Oh, it all closes off there for Watson, but somehow he gets through it. They're still side by side, coming up the hill. I think, well, in the end, opts to live to fight another day on that one. Watson with, well, if the laps that it's showing are correct, then he's on much, much fresher tyres. As I said, it's really difficult to know. Look how tight. Look, it's a. Oh my goodness me! It's the whole effect of a train going into the hairpins as the front brakes, and it just gets harder and harder braking throughout the whole train. So people start nudging the person in front of them. The further back in the train you are, the earlier you need to brake. So it's very, very difficult to judge. Surprised that's not something we see a lot more in real life, to be honest, but it does happen though. I have seen it. So Hamilton 1 year absolutely smashed the guy in front of him. Getting it wrong. I've also seen him make an absolute wonderful overtake at that exact corner early on in the race. So hard to look away from this area right now. Watson's on the back of Admiral. He wanted through. Admiral closed the door. There's not a lot I can say about that, because by the time we got on there, it was all happening already. It was a bit late to really see. Now the problem is, but you got to remember it in F1 now, the rules state that you need to be fully alongside at the apex of a corner, not not just have your... It used to be as long as you were alongside, so basically as long as you had your front wheels alongside their rear wheels, you were okay. That's not the case anymore. You must be 100% alongside at the apex of a corner now in F1. It's Ryanair and Chris do battle into the third sector. It looks like Chris comes out on top. So Chris through to P8. Ozers on the back of Gregory. Is there anything Ozers can do? Of course, now Ozers cannot get the 10-second penalty removed anymore that we talked about earlier on. There's been a safety car, which means that penalty cannot be removed as Gunnar goes up the inside of Josh at turn 1. Josh isn't done though. He's still battling, but opts to back out in the end. So Gunnar gains that position. It's always going to be difficult after that safety car. Some people on much better tyres than others, and that's always going to give an incentive to throw some moves, but you know what can happen at this track when people do that. And look at the gap now that James has pulled away from Admiral. He's going after Steersy. As we've got a yellow flag. Oh, goodness, what's going on? Well, something was going on there. No idea what. It's Chris. It was Chris. Because he's dropped down the standings. He's now down behind his teammate Josh. Something, not sure what, but something went wrong for Chris there at the chicane. And the McLaren drops down the standings. D-Kit still going, well done D-Kit. Avi desperately wondering if there's anything he can do about Admiral here. At the moment, it's not looking like it. Very little, of course, that you can do. It's so difficult. Through turn 1 on lap 36 of 39. James is trying to catch Steersy, but I think the laps are going to run out on him. He's had a superb race tonight. Apart from obviously the 10-second speed in the pit lane. Take that out of the equation. He's had a superb race. And obviously, as Ozers loses 2 places and he's under attack from Chris. Certainly doing a lot better than he did on a Sunday here. Closes off on Chris there. That'll be another lap down. Chris up the hill then, powers past Ozers. Here's someone hit the wall there. Was that Josh? Seemed to get close to Josh quite quickly, as I thought maybe it was Josh. I don't know. Sounds like there's someone hitting the wall every other corner at the moment. Just going by the sounds on the game. See? All aboard the Admiral train. Choo choo. Normally drives a shit, but tonight he's driving a train of F1 cars around Monaco. Avi putting him under continuous pressure, which is not sort of 99% of what you can do around Monaco, is just try and put the driver ahead of you under as much pressure as you possibly can. It's not a nice way of driving. I mean, you know, none of us want to really do that to a driver ahead of us, but it's the only way you can try and force a mistake from someone here. Fight earlier on between Admiral Avi and James looks incredibly tight. A lot of banging going on, but it looked fun. Hopefully no one felt there was anything worth reporting in it, but the stewards will find that out after the race, I guess. But it all looks sort of side by side, little taps and things like that, and then obviously it did get a bit messy at the chicane, but my immediate thought was that there wasn't anything really worth reporting, but it's hard to tell that sometimes from the angles we get, as Avi has to suddenly brake. Admiral's tyres must be screaming at him right now. I mean, Avi's won't be feeling great. They are a bit younger, as Avi thinks he might be able to get alongside there, but such is the way Monaco is. There's just nothing he can do. Oh, it's a bit of a dive this from Avi. Don't think that was really on Avi, if I'm honest, but he tried it. So we've got a yellow flag that appears to be D-Kit, and he's back going again, so everything's fine there. Say Avi is putting Admiral under every tiny little bit of pressure that he can, and look at the effect that has throughout the field as what they do through the hairpin, how that then affects it. Oh look, we've got a pile up. I think Gunnar's ended up round, and it's just a massive pile up behind of lots of cars. There's, sorry Steersy, but something happened before, as you were crossing the line. So Steersy wins in Monaco to take his win streak moving even further forward. James with a superb P2 tonight. Watson P3. Admiral, what a drive, what a defence. Well done withstanding that huge pressure from Avi. Admiral takes P4. Avi takes P5, Whale in 6, Beastie 7, Gregory 8, Ryan in 9, Kev 10, Gunnar 11, Josh 12, Chris 13, Robin 14, Chewbacca 15, Ozers will cross for P16, D-Kit will then finish us off with P17, position changes, Avi's up 10, he's a reserve though, so rather look for a full-time driver for driver of the day, just simply because it is worth a point. So I'll have a little think of that, about that in just a moment. Steersy's won the race, but I mean, Steersy's only mistake tonight was starting on the softs. That was his only real mistake. That definitely hurt him later in the race. And then he did lose an end plate at one stage. And then the change of wing. I'm a little, well, it's difficult to say because the safety car changed it. It gave us a lot of action towards the end, but at the same time, it took away a real battle for P1. That said, James had a 10-second penalty, so it wasn't a true battle. And ultimately for him, he still would have got P2 even with the 10-second penalty, and that's where he's ended up coming, having served it. So, yeah, all very difficult. The game wants to give it to Avi, but as I say, I'm looking away from him. James took fastest lap of the race, by the way, 1:12.446. Let me just scroll through so that we've got everything here. There's the penalties. Let me just go through the race director because I assume there's a lot. Well, I think driver of the day tonight. I think my driver of the day is a horrible choice. I'm not going to lie. This is one of the worst choices I've had to make. I know I've probably say that every week, but I am giving it to Admiral this week for the stellar defence at the end on the older tyres. Horrible safety car restart for him. You know, where he's just come under attack from all angles. But the defence on Avi at the end to hold Avi off was absolutely superb, because Avi was trying everything he possibly could to put Admiral under as much pressure as he possibly could. So I think, yeah, for that reason, my driver of the day this week's going to Admiral. In all fairness, there's probably 5 or 6 other drivers that I could give it to as well. So, you know, there's. The other thing I want to say is a massive well done to all the drivers, because we only had the one DNF. And as I say, Barry, I know it looks a bit strange for him, but I don't think it was anything strange. I think he just turned in too early to go into the pits, and he's hit the inside wall. That was my take on it. But the stewards may have a look at it. We'll see. But other than that, guys, for those of you that have watched along with me, I know Monaco is a strain. It's certainly been a strain for me. But it's probably a lot worse for the drivers than it is for us. So thank you to all of you that's watched along. Thanks to everyone who watched the stream back. I really appreciate it. So does the league. Don't forget, we've got the Thursday division coming up, which I think Wales said he's doing this week. So hopefully I'll be streaming that one and commentating for you. And then Sunday, we've got Brian commentating for the Sunday divisions race around Spain. So please join for that one. Spain's always an awesome race. So come and join Brian for that one and keep him company. Other than that, guys, good night, God bless, and I'll see you again soon.